Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Martin Abraham and I work for a company called Niburu, London. Today is a very special event. It's all about Windrush Memories, and I have some great people with me today, and we're going to be just talking to them one by one about their Windrush Memories. Kicking off with Ruth.
I am a child of Windrush, I guess, and the major part of my childhood was church for me, which was just like a hub of people from all over the Caribbean. I spent most of my childhood, maybe all the way up until 16, in church. That's Sunday morning, Sunday evening, that's YP on a Friday, that's choir practice on a Thursday, evening service on a Wednesday. I was in church all the time, like all the time. It was the only place that I had a lot of contact with Caribbean people. So my school was very, very British, and nobody even knew where Barbados was in the 80s. And I did have people ask me if Barbados was in Jamaica when I was in school. So it was the only place people knew where Barbados was, where Antigua was, where St. Vincent was. And it was just like a really happy place for me to grow up, and I had the best childhood ever.
I'd think about family gatherings when you have your family and your cousins, your extended family, and where everyone would always come together at certain occasions and gather in a way that we don't do now. So all your aunties and uncles and, there was a particular auntie I had in Tottenham. Her name's Auntie Princess, and every May bank holiday she would have this thing around her birthday, around that May bank holiday. So that was a tradition, a family tradition. You'd be around Auntie Princess' house on the that Monday, and then you go and everybody's coming, you're eating the food. All the food is there, all the Guyanese food, the curry, the roti, everything, and that particular enrichment of culture you get in, once a year, definitely, and everyone's going to be there. Mm-hmm. At some stage of that day, evening, someone's going to pass around. It's rude if you don't pass in by Auntie Princess, so that was a real example of us all gathering and getting together, and at the same time, you recognise that now we don't do that so much in that way, in that mass way, because everyone would be there. But that's a very big memory, yeah. Now that she's gone as well, it's kind of what, you think back and you think, that's what we used to do, all the families, all the cousins would come together, and yeah, we'd have a good time.
One of the memories which is from quite young to now is the need for interconnection, because living in my little community in Watford, I assumed everyone was Jamaican. One of my memories from quite young, racism, and how it was a part of your life, a natural part of your life. For example, at school I remember nursery rhymes like Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, which you'd sing in your playground, certain descriptions of the colours brown. So those things you lived with. Sunday food, fun Sunday rice and peas. That's always a memory, teething the food out of the pot. Without your parents catching you. Church, my aunt came here, one of the earliest I think, and she's very, very, I think she was a Baptist, and church was quite important. And she had a church right opposite from where she lived, and the aggravation she had, so they formed their own church. So that was a really big part of my life, that black church. That was the connection for everybody. Food, because I grew up in Watford, small community. Mm-hmm. Still needed our Saturday soup and so on and so forth. And we had a guy who used to come on Saturdays. His name was Mr. Thursday. But he came on Saturdays up from Shepherd's Bush. So all those kind of things are real, sharp memories of growing up. I remember I worked for Rolls-Royce Aero Division, where they made helicopter engines. I was a union rep for our Apex union rep, and looking back now, I realise I was one of the first reps. And once again, the racism's a big part of it, because when I first started working there, I think there was 2,500 people, and when I said I'd apply, many people said, "Oh, you're not going to be getting there because of the isms." And I started working in this company, and there was hardly any black people. So there was a lot of racism. So I think that's the thread of what I'm saying here. Through the 60s, it was unbelievable, conscious and subconscious.
My mother and her two sisters came over from Barbados. My mum came in 1962. Met my father in Germany. I don't know why she was in Germany, but she was. And they lived in London, in Edmonton actually, not too far from here. And when I was 18 months old, we moved to Lagos, Nigeria, with my younger brother. My mother didn't like it. She couldn't see, she didn't speak the language, and she just didn't like living in Lagos. So we came back. My father did not come back, and we lived in Edmonton. And my biggest memory, or my most memorable experience of living in the UK or in London at that time, was the Brixton riots and the impact that that had on our community, and the fact that there was I remember one night they were rioting and there was some sort of spillover into North London. And my mother made the decision that we were going back to Barbados. So I actually moved back to Barbados in January 1983 when I was 7 years old. And I came back when I was 18. So I missed growing up in the UK. I actually grew up in Barbados, the formative years from 8 to 18. And so the idea of being a minority is something weird to me, because all of us know, living in the Caribbean, 5% of the society is probably not black. So when I came back, I moved to the Midlands. I went to university in Leicester. And I remember one day walking down the street. It was it wasn't a black neighborhood, and someone crossed the road when I was walking towards them. And that was my first sort of experience of, I guess you'd call it racism, right? Or someone not making a judgment about me because of the color of my skin. So that's my experience of Windrush.
Thank you very much indeed.